So, one of the things that I think is important for people, like there's a lot of web developers that listen to the show. There's a lot of SEO people. Like when we start talking about agents, they're really like that's short for coding agent, right? It's a coding agent that developers use. So, like if you're not familiar with a lot of this stuff and it's really new to you, it's because you haven't been in the developer world. But the developer uptake on a coding assistant is like over 90%, right? So like dev heavy environments are utilizing this technology at a rapid pace. And, for someone to go from like, understanding like analytics and business to be able to use an agent and orchestrate like a system and all that, it takes some system thinking. It takes understanding how applications are built, like going to get some basic Python knowledge, like not saying you have to code it, but saying how it works, like what you're saying of how it fits together is really important. But the caveat to that is anything you can think of, this is what I believe currently, anything you can think of in your mind is now possible. So if you can map out a workflow, if you can map out guardrails, if you can, think through the problem and the second order, well, the first order, second order, third order effects of like what you're going to do and how that's going to impact it. Like for developers, for example, you got to think about throughput, right? Like you're building your vibe coding something, right? And yeah, there's a bunch of people say it's just super easy to do it and you vibe code this thing, but you can't necessarily go to market with it. And like once you start getting like a lot of users, all of the actions that are happening are getting processed one user at a time. That was like, even when we were talking about Bitcoin back in the day, like it can't process at the throughput of like a credit card, like, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't billions of transactions. So you got to think through this of what the end state looks like going forward. And there's been a lot of debate on, can you vibe code something or do you have to do it the traditional way? And, I was kind of watching that debate and, again, I'm not a developer, but I project manage some things. And I'm going, well, if you train your system to code it with the traditional like subject matter expert knowledge of how you're going to build it, it's going to assist you to build it faster. So it's not this or that. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and you try and explain it to one of the two camps and they don't because for the people that want to spend 3 months planning, like I'm like, no, like we got to iterate quick. And then the people that want to iterate too quick, I'm like, no, but you got to have a plan. And so like I sound contradictory to both, but you're exactly right. And that's where I landed was, there's a famous quote, it's attributed to Abraham Lincoln, but they say it's not really, we don't know who said it, but it rings true nonetheless. And that's, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I'll spend 4 hours sharpening my axe. And, it really is that way in this day and age, is that, yes, we can iterate quickly. And so we should, but at the same token, you can save yourself a lot of heartache. No pun intended on the token comment. You can save yourself a lot of heartache if you really do think it out. And so that was one thing that I never, like having worked with developers and stuff, I didn't come into this as somebody that like was like, oh, I'm going to spend a couple hours a week and I'm going to get good at this. And I'm never going to have to learn anything about code because I just simply knew that wasn't true. I knew that I could use it as a crutch, but I knew that, from starting out where it was just pattern recognition of, hey, I notice every time I'm doing authentication, like I get messed up here. Okay, we need to tell it to watch out for that. Like not even knowing what I'm really trying to watch out for. I just know that like, hey, when we get to this point, and this was back when we had context windows of just like 16,000 tokens, 32,000 tokens. So, it does one file and it's like, where am I? Like, are we building something today? It's like, yeah, we just built 200 files. What do you mean? So, and then also with the regulated industry thing, because of the fact I had a passion for healthcare, luckily I was able to get in the Azure Microsoft Founders Hub program and have credits and be able to utilize a lot of their railing, a pipeline for, I feel like that's one thing that a lot of people, the hybrids of business and development, they're really finding the sweet spot. And I think it's because of things like, because I didn't have the skill, I had to find, not necessarily the way around it, but the way that I could get that, HIPAA compliance without me knowing, hey, like, okay, well, what's a pen test, and so it was utilizing things like, now I still had to have my code be solid. And so I kind of used myself as the scout, if you will. So I would kind of like move forward and make prototypes and things. And then I'd have, my development team come from behind, and it allowed us to kind of, they could work at the pace they wanted to and really have things mapped out, but it didn't constrain the freedom of being able to try new things out. So, and now it's totally different these days in the fact that like you really can do a lot of things if you're willing to just spend some time planning.